did your ex say to you that broke you? Story 1. My father died while me and my ex were traveling abroad. Obviously I had to go home straight away. I asked if she wanted to come back home with me to be with me, and she replied, why should I have to go back? I broke up with her shortly after. I couldn't really see her in the same way. Story 2. I never loved you. This after our divorce, 5 years of marriage and children, broke me for a moment, but I had long since realized she was a cancer on my soul. Story 3. No one else is gonna love you once they've seen you naked. Edit. Thank you all for your comments. I'm fine now, but at 16 that was a low blow for sure. Don't let anyone bring you down, guys. Story 4. She treated me quite badly during the relationship, but I didn't see it as I was blinded by love. Years after we broke up we met again. She said I really you up, didn't I? Just like that, no shame or apology. I absolutely see it now that she did exactly that. Was getting to hear her admit it. I am still a little bit in love with her, but it's lessening each day. Story 5. It's not what they said, it's that they didn't say anything at all, treated me like I was the most important person in the world, allowed me to feel the safest I've ever felt, told me we had a special connection, painted a beautiful picture of our future together, then proceeded to disappear into the ether without a word. Story 6. Had one say it's kind of embarrassing that you work in a factory, you should go to college and get a degree in something. I was making 6 figures, but since I wore steel toe boots and not khakis I was embarrassing. Good times. Story 7. I think we should see other people. We are married. I Ted the things I did for my family, my battle with cancer, and she turns around and did that. Story 8. It may not seem like much, but my now ex of 3 years told me that I was just another notch on the belt of people he's used for his own personal gain. It really hurt, and I'm still a bit hurt by it nearly a year later. Story 9. I thought I was doing okay. I was born poor in government housing, and had worked my way into a nice rental, with a stable job and a decent wage. My ex told me she broke up with me because I didn't, and will never own my own house. I thought I was doing okay till then. Story 10. If we met a little later in life I would have married you. It was true and I would have loved that. It took me years and an actual marriage to get over her. Story 11. After being married 10 years she said, I love him so much, and left me to bring up 2 boys aged 8 and 5 on my own. She's never said sorry to this day. Story 12. I'm leaving you for someone else. That someone else had just came out of prison. He had gotten her pregnant. They hid their baby from our daughter for 8 months. Now they're happily together. I'm happy. My. Story 13. My ex never said I love you explicitly because of certain reasons. We dated over a year. One time we were going through a rough patch. A few weeks before she broke up with me. After an argument she told me I loved you. That me up. Never got to hear I love you, but all I got was I loved you. Story 14. That the way I loved her was too intense. She said she was in a relationship with me to have fun and go on dates, and not to fall in love or have someone fall in love with her. This was 3 years into our relationship where, after she took my virginity via rape, was my first everything, met my parents, talked about marriage and our future, and just everything in between. I learned that I was a glorified monogamous FWB that been with my wife 14 years, married for 7, have 2 kids, and love them more than I ever thought was possible. That every time we made love without me previously explicitly asking for her consent to touch her I had been committing an act of rape. Including those times when she initiated the interaction. I lost all my faith in modern humans. Story 15. My best friend I served with took his life. My ex's first remark after the funeral, when she was drunk, I never really liked him and his family is better off given all his problems. Story 16. From a 7-year relationship. I would rather be alone than be in this relationship. In my fantasy, I see myself wearing a veil, walking down the aisle. I see you there in a pew, carrying a baby beside your wife. Story 17. You're never doing enough to support me in my goals as I'm already elbows deep in a sink of dishes. After my full day at work, cooking dinner for her, paying all of our bills since she can't be asked to pay for groceries, all while she can't hold down a job for more than 6 months at a stretch because of poor culture fit and corporate political drama she just happened to get caught up in. Literally stopped what I was doing, packed a bag, told her I was going to my parents for the weekend and I wanted her gone by the time I was back. Story 18. I don't love you anymore. You're not good enough for me. You're a mule. I cheated on you because she was prettier. Yet months later, after him dumping me and making me homeless, he is still in my phone at random times of random days. Story 19. Me and my ex of just over a year broke up but stayed in touch. One day we were talking about our relationship and he said I liked you at first but then you became too emotionally unstable, so it was just physical attraction for me after that. Story 20. After I caught her getting railed by my boss, she told me that I was too much conservative and didn't allow us to have an open relationship. After 4 whole years I got married and have 2 sons from my pretty wife. My ex is still changing her boyfriends like a diaper pad. Story 21. Might seem silly to some, but my ex said something along the lines of, your singing is loud and obnoxious. Nobody wants to hear that, during our breakup. This was after growing up being told that I had an awful singing voice, spending 6 to 8 years working on my singing voice, my technique and my confidence, because I finally found a passion in my life, singing, something I genuinely love to do. My ex knew the emotional weight I held in singing. After we split, I stopped singing. It's been almost a decade since we broke up, and while I've sang on occasion, I can never muster the gall to project or put effort in, so I am back to singing quietly without technique, and sounding like, which makes me want to do it less. The passion and fire is still in me, but I physically just can't bring myself to do it anymore. Story 22. My kid was really struggling with the breakup. My ex and her parents had weaponized visits, which resulted in my son being hysterical most visits. This was having a toll on his mental health and he was struggling with school. She told me that she would never stop her antics, and she would make both mine and my son's life as miserable and difficult as possible on each visit handover chance. If I wanted my son to have peace, I would stop showing up and walk away. She had already accused me of taking and sharing inappropriate photos of him. She worked in parent-child safety services, so knew what to say and what not to say. My solicitor warned me to be very careful or she would make it worse within the law. My visits were 8 hours a week. It just wasn't worth it. I walked away and never saw him again. Story 23. A bit of unasked advice here. If your ex gives you any incentive besides just a regular breakup to break you, in general you should be thanking them since it makes it much easier to move on ID you have any self-respect. Story 24. Called me a gold digger and all other kind of names when I was the one treating them like my passenger princess, spending on dates and didn't ever expect them to pay for me or do anything extravagant for me. Story 25. I asked him why he didn't want to get divorced when he disliked so much about me. And he said because nobody else will want me. I thought he was going to say because I love you. He said it 2 more times before I filed for divorce. Story 26. Not my ex, but the first guy I slept with when I was 17. I'm embarrassed to be seen with you when I wanted to be more than buddies, and while he was actively asking me about my 1010 friend fun times. Not at all embarrassing. Story 27. My type is skinny women. We were together for more than 5 years. I have been a plus-size lady all my life. He is a plus-size too. I just asked him, then what are you doing with me? So many years I have been struggling with body issues since childhood. Lately with therapy ECT. I managed to accept that my value as a person has nothing to do with my body weight. Well, if he doesn't get that, it's an important reason why we should be apart. People out there, you deserve to be loved for who you are. Story 28. The specifics are long and complicated and batshit crazy, but 19-year-old me figuring out I was the side piece of my 17-year-old girlfriend to keep up appearances for years when she was dating a 30-something dude. Story 29. Not to me, but to a friend about our breakup. People like that who struggle with their mental health to any degree disgust me. Absolutely brutal. Who the goes a yes, a girl fresh out of an abusive relationship, she won't be struggling at all. I'm a pro fighter. Hopefully you get hit in the head in the right spot that will kill you. She gaslight me, said I had a huge fear of being alone, but added guys immediately on social media was snorting blow in the clubs not even a month later. Story 30. I'll never marry you, you know that, don't you? This was when I took her to my cousin's wedding. My relatives had made a few comments about us which didn't help as we had only been seeing each other for a few months. About 30 seconds later a cousin walked in and hinted that we had been messing around on the sofa. We hadn't. She had just been breaking my heart. Story 31. He told me that he believed I was actually a horrible person and an absolute on the inside, and that he never really loved me up for years because I was only 19. LMAO, you deserve better. Story 32. After 15 years together he came home one day and told me he isn't in love with me anymore and needs to go find his happiness. I was blindsided. He did a good job of pretending, I guess. Story 33. Broke up with me over the phone in her car. Could hear her friends in the background during it and I was on loudspeaker. Some people are beyond the mercy of feeling bad for them when they have their misfortunes. Story 34. I was suffering with PTSD and depression. After a heated argument she said everyone knows this is going to end with you offing yourself, so why don't you save us all the bullshit and get it done. Story 35. My ex told me I was too clingy because I wanted to FaceTime every night like, sorry for wanting to see your face. What's the worst breakup line you've heard? I need to know I'm not alone here. Story 36. Told me I was pathetic and needed to be shouted at more as a child. Also told me to KMS when I was having a meltdown. I very nearly did. A different ex told me my communication style was rude and I needed to learn how not to attention hog and I don't respond to his criticism properly. I have ADHD and do the one-line message thing. And responded to a story he was telling about a situation with, I can relate because insert similar situation, which I was doing for empathy. It took me a long time to understand that's not how NTs communicate. Story 37. I'm glad you are not a comedian. We would starve. You disgust me. I want to throw up every time you kiss me. I don't like having you near me. Please ask me out, so I can see your face when I reject you. You'll say you raped me, you are a guy, nobody is gonna ever believe you didn't.
One day you're not gonna be anymore and nobody will ever find your body. Il juste say you abandoned me, you're so they're gonna believe me.
Story 38. I'm sorry that therapy didn't work out for you. After 2 years with the same therapist, I can safely say that I'm better than ever. There's a lot of work ahead of me, but I'm glad to have the right professional by my side. Your traumas are none of my concern. That one left me speechless. Story 39. I sometimes feel that you're the woman and am the man of this relationship. When I was trying to have an open conversation with her about the things that made me feel insecure, since we were going through a bit of a rough patch, I left her then and there, never looked back. Story 40. After about a year of relationship, he said to me, I never actually wanted a relationship with you, you just pushed me into it. Of course, he was the one who wanted this relationship first. Story 41. After 5 years, our internet was out one night and wouldn't be fixed till the next day or later. He was angry as we're both gamers and he wanted to relax. I offered suggestions of other things we could do and told him it could be a good opportunity to reconnect. About a week later, when he broke up with me, he recalled this night and told me that he realized he didn't want to reconnect. I found out about a week after breaking up that he was cheating on me with a girl we both had been gaming with for a while. Makes sense now as to why he got so unreasonably upset when the internet was out. Story 42. When after 5 years of struggling, I finally admitted I was suicidal and needed help, you're just trying to derail our therapy. I instantly asked for a divorce. Story 43. Not my ex, but closest thing to one. I can only handle so much of your crazy. That's when I realized I'm once again too much for someone. It started with my BSF, then went to another close friend, and now he, the guy who I'd been screwing around with, was added on that list. Now I'm just waiting for one more friend and the guy I like to say something along those lines, but they haven't been around long, so Emma, just give it time. Story 44. She randomly told me over text one day that she hates me, and then she blocked me on everything without giving me a chance to talk. We literally hung out a day earlier and we were joking and laughing and being good. No argument prior or anything. No explanation why. She just went cold, like the 5 years didn't matter. I still don't know what I did. She never told me. Story 45. My ex-wife of 20 years left me over a medical condition. She once told me, towards the end, that she didn't want to be stuck taking care of me because I didn't take care of myself. She didn't believe I had a medical condition. Almost 6 years later, my condition is managed. I've lost around 115 pounds and am doing much better without her. Story 46. You were the best man I've ever been with. Yeah. Then why did you choose to cheat with a guy who didn't give about you? He dehumanized her constantly, with name calling and comparing her to certain objects. Bet she liked that instead of me treating her like an equal and human being. Story 47. WoW has always been there for me. WoW captivates me. You don't then said I was jealous of pixels. Well duh, 21-year-old game versus 13 years together, engaged with our first child. WoW, is all I could say. Story 48. Not an ex but an ex-best friend. He said I literally can't be friends with you anymore because you're gay and it's just not normal. I really took that hard because I genuinely thought something was wrong with me, gay or not. I ways him a good friend. Well, fast forward 4 years and that same ex-best friend is now gay and married to a dude. The irony. Story 49. Have been asking for my clothes the past 2 weeks. I told her I was going to her apartment, told her to leave it on her car or put it on the sidewalk. She said she would get a restraining order. I said okay, so mail it or put it in my mailbox. Eve given you that option for 2 weeks. She said I will, still hasn't. Wouldn't say it broke me but genuinely makes me realize there's something wrong. This woman. She's doing everything but give me my clothes. Almost 3 weeks now, not to mention she cancelled on meeting up to drop them off or dropping them in my mailbox 6-7 times now. Story 50. My ex pointed his finger in my face and yelled you can't do anything. Followed a few weeks later by I'm just so bored of you, still trying to rebuild my self-confidence after dating that narcissist. Story 51. 8 months after broke up, a drunk text saying I miss your love. I'm sure you're seeing someone, but weren't we fabulous? I think so. So awful. This was lifetimes ago and it still hurts. Edit to add, she broke up with me after getting an abortion. Story 52. Scoffed at me when I excitedly told him how well I had managed to look after myself while he was on holiday. Realized that day that he wasn't supporting my recovery. He was trying to keep me reliant on him so I couldn't leave. Story 53. I can't believe you worked all these years and are still broke. When she found out I only had about 20k in my bank account and I made her confess she had over 300k in her account. Mind you, the household bills are split 7,030 with me paying 70. I also paid borrowed money from relatives for our house, paid down payment for our cars, etc. Story 54. I suggested they spend their day off at home, whilst I was remote working. It would at least mean we could see each other throughout the day, which hadn't happened in a while. I actually want to enjoy my days off. Ouch. Story 55. Not really an ex, but she grew to me very quickly and we were close to a relationship. One day out of nowhere she suddenly accuses me of cheating, her friends manipulating her by telling her lies and showing no evidence. She had a traumatizing experience before with her ex-husband. It broke me for the moment, because it frustrated me a lot being accused like that by people I don't even know, by words I never heard and text I never read. The most hurtful things is that she believed them. She will continue to live her life with toxic manipulating people she calls friends, and the most sad, live in a lie. I wish the best for her. I told her I will be there if anything happens. She blocked me. It felt unfair. I tried my best to make her feel secure throughout half the year of knowing each other. I learned I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I should never forget who I am and the things I do. I lost myself trying to prove her wrong. I shouldn't be sad about people who badmouth me and lie about me. I deserve better. Story 56. After 10 years and planning a wedding, in my eyes, we've only been dating for 2 years. She said some other stuff too that I don't remember because I was so hurt. The best part, after 10 years, she ghosted me, no contact, not anything. It took me many years of therapy and I still have moments. Story 57. Not words, but it was the fact she knew I was struggling deeply with depression for the first time in my life. I really just needed a bit of support to get me into some therapy and support from her. Instead I isolated and she detached. After 15 years she dipped. Ironically, earlier in our relationship she dealt with really severe anxiety attacks and resulting depression bouts. I never even considered leaving her in the times where she was sick and simply needed some support to get through it. Then years later when she no longer remembers the darker days she dips on me the only time I ever really needed her. Broke me, even led me on a couple months later once I was back to normal, indicated she wanted to make it work, then cut me off a couple weeks after saying she met someone, spent 16 years with that girl, and she still dragged me along and just acted so out of character at the end I stopped recognizing her. This was a year ago and I still won't even consider dating again. My trust issues will be a tough issue to overcome. I don't want to put that burden on anyone, so it's single for the time being. I have cancer. She was lying about that. Story 58 on a long-distance relationship. I felt like she being more distant. I called her for her birthday and she felt surprised and cut the call short. Later that day I texted her, if there was someone else in your life would you tell me? Her answer, there is nothing to say. That was the end. Still remember her exact words 14 years later. Story 59 after my dad died, I was really struggling. I had no family close by and it was a big loss. He said, I've lost people before, I don't understand why you can't move past this. Story 60 she was pro-life, I'm pro-choice. This caused a number of conflicts in our relationship. One day we were fighting about it and she said she would get an abortion if she got pregnant, because who would ever want your child? Story 61 if we met a little later in life I would have married you. It was true and I would have loved that. It took me years and an actual marriage to get over her. Story 62 after we broke up she was crying, asking now where am I going to find someone? Why, but that really irked me, like I was only there to fill the husband void for her, not because she liked me for me. Anyway, she married within a year and had a baby soon after. Story 63 called me autistic. I mean I am, but it was the way he said it. He was using it as a pejorative, as an insult, as a way to hurt me. The look on his face was pure disgust. This was my husband. Story 64 coming to you with two things. You told me you were going to lose weight but you're still fat. It's unattractive. Moments before he broke up with me, we had been dating for 4 months, he asked me out. Unprompted, I'm chubby, not fat. I had been working out every day for an hour and eating healthier and ended up losing 15 pounds. It wasn't the greatest, but I knew that it was at least something. Still he got with me knowing what he saw, hearing that confirmed that he never liked me in the first place. So I asked him why he even bothered dating me. He said, because I knew you were lonely and needed attention. Crushed. Story 65 when I asked her if she was using me, spoilers, she was. She said, the only thing I can use you for is an accidental pregnancy and hating myself. When I brought that up to her, she said I took it out of context, and she couldn't give me an answer to what that context was. Story 66 her, I slept with multiple guys multiple times. Me why? Her because I felt like it. She was my first and that completely me up. I haven't really had a good relationship ever, to be honest. Always ends in heartbreak and betrayal, and I've always been on the receiving end of heartbreak. Story 67 cry real blood if you want to. Yes, I took your hard-earned money and spent it on her. That time, I was still a student struggling with so many things in my life. Story 68 I used to disappoint her. A lot. It was her favorite word. Whenever something didn't go her way she was going to wait till she got back from her trip to tell me that she basically had with another guy. She ended up telling me everything before she got back. In detail before that, we wanted to go on a break and was quick to start looking for a new boyfriend or just someone to around with. She was smiling in my face about it, and was getting dolled up for the guy she eventually had with. Once she found her husband, she played coy with me until she decided to break up with me, and immediately switched up on me like we weren't together for 4 years. I instantly became a stranger. She even lied to me when she sent a pic of them on a date. I wasn't stupid, but acted like it. It was what she said, and her actions that broke me. Alcohol had been my one and only friend for the last couple of years. Story 69 I can end your life. I didn't understand it at the time. Later she falsely accused me of being violent and pushing her to the floor. It never happened. The last time we hugged, she told me my mom would hate me for doing this. That broke me even more because she told that lie to her mother, who I loved and cared for. Almost 2 years later, she called me, saying she had been thinking a lot about me, having trouble to sleep, and apologized for having been so stupid. Story 70 her last messages were things accusing me of she was guilty of. I was too heartbroken to realize the hypocrisy of her claims. After months of grief, I realized and later found out she is a total and lied about some serious heinous. Story 71 it was they didn't say that broke me. No goodbye, no true explanation. Fully blown no contact after I was told contact would remain tight. They were married within 8 months to a coworker. It was the best series of events to occur, as I have never felt happier and secure with my fiancé. I can't wait to get married and live a life we both deserve. Story 72 5 years relationship. 10 days before wedding, no meetup, no call, sent a screenshot of 1 paragraph typed text email style calling off the wedding and breaking up, that she had discussed with her family, and then she and her family ghosted my family and I. Sometimes it's not the content, but the way it is delivered that breaks you completely. Story 73 the truth, I was wasting my life. Broke me only because I was already a house of cards ready to crumble, but made me realize I need to build myself back up. Story 74 I never cared about you. I only asked you out because my friends told me to. A 27-year-old man-child. He now blames all his actions on being a cancer. He is a cancer all right. Story 75 in college, I was going through a time being away from home and lost a ton of weight because the gym was my only outlet. I had came back home for the summer and all anyone could tell me was how good I looked. I had always been bigger. I had asked my ex's thoughts on a whim and he said I could stand to lose a few more. Wrecked me. Gave up everything I worked hard for, and now 70 pounds later I still think about it when stepping on a scale. Story 76 After a year of lies, manipulation, and gaslighting and for proving and confirming it, and yet basically saying at the end they cared when they gave zero shits throughout the entirety only to get an off-yourself fake snakes and people who take zero accountability. Good riddance. Story 77 She said I don't mean to sound like the cliché but it's not you, it's me. It's been a little over a month since she broke up with me so I'm healing more now. Going to the gym consistently has come in clutch. But it's been hard because in those first few weeks following, maybe you're like me, and tried to say but no wait. Let's figure this out. But once you accept that there's nothing you can say or do to have them reverse their decision, it hurts. Once you sit back and realize they weren't right for you for many reasons, the healing begins. Story 78 Man, I'm sorry for what you've been through. For me the hardest part was walking away from an abusive relationship. Noon takes you serious if you're a man, not your family, friends, police, noon to everyone whatever that said or did, you deserve better and hope you're doing well now. Story 79 I'm embarrassed to talk to my family about your finances. I was 21-22 at the time and graduated during COVID. She was a year younger than me, in hindsight, was totally ridiculous to be so fixated on money at that age. Really gave me an inferiority complex for a couple years. This was also in a sea of you should be making more money type stuff. But the directness of the above the word embarrassed from someone I loved just really stung. Story 80 That my hobbies and interests were juvenile and embarrassing because I loved cartoons, collected comics and action figures etc. He made me feel badly about so many aspects of myself. But that one really stung because it wasn't like I was dragging him into comic book stores with me, or even talking about these things to other people. Just the fact I liked them at all was an embarrassment to him, like his obsession with sports was somehow a superior pastime. Well that guy, 20 years later I run an Etsy cosplay business and my whole house is covered in cool comics, cosplay, and animation and whenever people come over they rave about how cool it is. Story 81 I think it was something in how we were drifting apart but she had made work friends and I called her out on having feelings with a different guy which she admitted. Story 82 She throwed some racist slur at me and she asked me to do some sacrifice I wasn't ready, or didn't find just to do. It went downhill after that, but basically, that was it. Story 83 She said I was controlling her too much and so on. She was constantly texting with other guys on Snapchat and stuff about everyday things, life and so on, and I just didn't like that and I honestly spoke my mind about it. She understood and never spoke up about it again until she suddenly decided that I was controlling and restricting her too much and she didn't want that anymore. And I will never understand how you can pull something like that when you really love a person. Story 84 My ex broke up with me saying she felt like she wasn't ready for a relationship. I was gut-wrenched. Then a week later saw her with another dude. I thought to myself I shouldn't be jealous. It's probably just her friend. Fast forward a month I see a couple hugging it out for over 20 minutes. I think how nice, I wish my ex and I could have hugged like that. After a bit she turned her head. Guess who the couple was? What sucked the most was that I had thought the breakup was because of our incompatibility. I had always loved holding hands, kisses, and hugs. She always disliked it. Guess she just disliked it with me. Story 85 He was absolutely incompetent. I couldn't get a break from being responsible and making all the decisions, and he would tell our mutual friend she just likes to be in charge and enjoys a more masculine role. I absolutely didn't. After I told him I'm done we were both 30 he suddenly threw away the nice guy facade and said you read this in a feminist magazine, right? I was unhappy that he would do so little. I would have to cook and clean almost myself while paying all of our bills most of the time we were together. I'm your last chance to have a child. You know I never cared that you are fat. Said that out of nowhere. When I said that I'm sick of being his mother, he said but you are not like my mother. My mother would never abandon me. Story 86 He said that he has no urge or desire for me because I stopped going to the gym consistently and had lost 11 pounds of muscle mass, all while starting a new job in cardiac surgery, starting college again, and settling into a home that I just moved into from out of state to be with him. LMAO crazy. Story 87 Nothing, exactly nothing. I was leaving work and particularly exhausted when she called. She asked if I could come over to talk, and I said no, I wanted to go home and rest. I asked if we could talk on the phone instead, and she pressed that we speak in person. Why? I asked. It's not like you're going to break up with me. Then she said nothing. Cue my personal breakdown in the middle of a pharmacy. Story 88 I wanted to try something new in bed. Nothing bad, just a new position really. I was told you go do that with whores, not your wife. Kinda broke me to realize that it will be like this for the rest of my life. Not saying that was the only thing that led to our divorce, but something I definitely remember. Story 89 I don't want to be with you, I don't want to commit. But don't worry, you're still the best I've ever had. To this day I wonder why she chose to say that. At the time I was like oh, well nice, but now I just wonder why it wasn't enough. Why I am not enough. She also claimed it wasn't going to be the last time we talked, but clearly that wasn't the case. Story 90 I'm not attracted to your body type anymore. I want to try dating someone who's more muscular instead of skinny. 17 years later, and I would kill to be skinny again. Story 91 You're lucky that you had me. I'm hot, so I deserve better, but nobody will date your fat, ugly, same woman who I had to block from every possible means of communication because she desperately wanted back in my life after I moved on, met someone awesome, and had a bunch of career success. BTW. Story 92 She said quite a few, but the two worst were, if you were really happy with me you wouldn't need to take your antidepressants anymore. The second was she grabbed my face and kissed me out of nowhere and said I don't think I feel anything for you anymore. The second happened just 2 years after marriage and I was honestly blinded by it. Stayed together 2 more years, then she cheated and we got divorced. Was a very toxic and emotionally abusive relationship. Still healing from it. Story 93. She said multiple things that broke me in a good way, i.e., helped me move on. We were each other's first real relationship. We're together for 7 years. Lived together for 4. I was always trying to communicate and work things through, but one person is not enough, I guess. We did long distance for a second time despite me objecting, and during the 6 months broke up. A couple months later she had to come to our common apartment and gather her stuff, and she lived with me for a month. During that month, I told her it's making it easy for me seeing she has no regrets. She started crying and told me it was better to separate now, rather than for her to realize in 10 years she is miserable. I was always supportive, helping, understanding, sacrificed a lot for our relationship, and you're talking about misery. You have no idea what misery is. Good luck, bye. We were at a party and S1 asked what our kinks are. She goes on to elaborate stuff that she had never shared with me. Given that during our time together, I was asking what I can do, that one hurt. We were talking about some acquaintances and she said yeah, 2 intellectuals finding each other. Now, I by no means hate the couple, they are just boring to me. My group of friends on the other hand have very cool dynamic. They are all smart as in their professional life and very successful. Hands down some of the smartest people I know, but also not taking themselves seriously. Don't think this is how she meant it, but if the full of themselves boring people are intellectuals and my friends are, just my friends, then you my dear are blind as a bat. Lastly, I still keep as a reminder her last Christmas gift to me. This was to be our first Christmas where both of us are no longer students, financially adults, without any money problems. I picked out a couple of gifts I knew she'd love, packaged them properly, etc. Her gift to me was a sandwich bag, inside rubber, outside cloth, which wasn't wrapped at all. When I think of our relationship, this is the image I stop on, to review how much effort we are both putting in, a lot of lessons learned.